people talking about the big news. Is there any big news in the market today?
Yes, Victorian State Nominations are opened. That's the big news.
To discuss about the big news, or to tell you frankly what's going on over in Victoria, I got the founder and principal lawyer at Fairfield Lawyers, none other than Barrister and Lawyer Susantha Katugampala. Welcome to the show. Some people fly in, some people fly out, but a lot of people in Sri Lanka trying to fly out or to migrate. Now at this point, what was the big news far as you concerned?
All these years, people wish to migrate out of Sri Lanka. They prefer to come and live in Victoria. Melbourne is the capital of Victoria. And Victoria has a great, excellent Sri Lankan community like you, like the organization like New Sri Lanka. However, migration to Victoria was very difficult, extremely difficult over the years, especially during the pandemic. The doors were closed for the last 2 years. So now the Victorian government has announced a positive news of state nominations to Victoria. And the biggest news is that it is open for all the occupations. It's open for occupations on the main occupation list for subclass 190 or 491. Both lists has several hundreds of occupations. So the applicants can apply for their ROI's registration of interest under any of these occupations. But there's a criteria, but that's the good news.
Susantha, definitely it's a good news, but for a layman or somebody who has a dream to come over here for the best living city, which has been awarded throughout the years. Now, what is the first step? What should be your first initial entry or what they should do?
Anyone want to come under state nominated skill migration, you need to be under 45 years of age. You need to have competent English, which is 6 in each in an IELTS test or 50 each in a PT test, or could be another acceptable English test. And a skill assessment. The skill assessment, English and under 45 is a must. That's the threshold criteria. Then you have other additional qualifications, your work experience, your employment in Australia, your job offers to Australia, your relatives, anything could be helpful to prove that you genuinely intend to live in Victoria or any other state. So this period, this basically is the commencement of the new financial year, commenced on 1 July 2022. And people were waiting for this big news because the previous government, the Liberal government, had doubled the skill migration intake in their budget in March 2022. That has commenced from July. And then after 5 weeks, first week of August, the government has now announced that skill migration quotas. If you're in Victoria, you don't need to pack the bags anymore. You can apply for your visa in Australia.
Yeah, saying that, Susantha, I think that's a great silver line for those who intended or those who had any intention. But on the other side, it's a more diminishing curves towards the Sri Lankan economy and sort of far as the Sri Lanka concerned. Now somebody can have a question whether the Sri Lankan born, Sri Lankan origin passport holder with qualifications, do they have any sort of barriers to come on with this offer?
There's a criteria for skill migration. So if you apply for your skill migration, if you satisfy the criteria, and then if you are getting an invitation, then your visa, if your documents are genuine, your visa is assured, your grant is assured. So it is not subjective. However, the invitations from the states can be subjective because they consider many factors, which is not objective. And we hope for objective criteria, but the criteria can be subjective because you're competing with thousands of applicants. But once you lodge your application, if you satisfy the legal criteria in the migration regulations, then your outcome has to be assured. That's the legal advice you should have. Therefore, being a Sri Lankan, you have no disadvantage. It's only an advantage, especially with Victoria, because Victoria has a huge Sri Lankan community, and all the politicians, the government, everyone knows about it. So there's no doubt that people coming out of Sri Lanka intending to come to Victoria would come and live here. They wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So therefore, there's no more evidence required to prove that the connection between Sri Lanka and Victoria. However, there's a problem, there's a challenge in getting a tourist visa or a student visa out of Sri Lanka, because there's subjective criteria. Those visas are considered at the Australian High Commission in Colombo. And according to their words, Sri Lanka's on fire. So until the Sri Lankan situation settles down, it'll be difficult to get a visitor visa and difficult to get a student visa. We have lobbied the governments, the former government, the state government, and then opposition, now the government, that the Victoria should give this opportunity. We are pleased that Victoria has finally opened. I think Chamber of Commerce and many other stakeholders, including lawyers associations, including us individually, personally lobbied the stakeholders to make this happen. So today is the outcome. And same way we are trying to lobby to the government that Sri Lankans should not be denied their visas if they have a genuine intent to visit, because that's important for Sri Lankan to be able to travel freely to Australia. If they keep denying of their visas, then people will think of getting into boats. So if you want to discourage illegal immigration, then the genuine people should be granted a visa. So that's important for government to understand. It's our job to lobby. So therefore the message to you and our community members is, when you have those connections, when you speak to the right people, always lobby that Sri Lankans should be treated fairly for their subjective visas such as tourist or student.
What a fair statement. Just to be clear and specific, if you have intention on a student or visitor visa, that is a separate conversation we have to take. It's a separate context, the Australian High Commission will on granting visa. But coming to, especially if you have a thoughts of migrating, this is where we are using a mastering piece of advising, and also who has gained a lot of experience in the industry throughout these years. And that's why we got Susantha on this Biz Talks, especially now somebody who may have applied or not selected during 2020 or 2021. Can they come back? Do they have a hope, Susantha?
Absolutely. Now, under the new rules being published by the Victorian government, people in Australia, in Victoria, and people outside of Victoria can apply. Offshore applicants are eligible to apply. And priorities are still healthcare, then hospitality, the chefs got an opportunity, nurses got an opportunity, then the engineers, then the IT professionals. They probably sit on the top, and also the teachers, or early childhood teachers are in shortage. And in addition, many other occupations may probably classified as others, and those other occupations also will have a quota. So you're eligible to apply, but it doesn't mean that you will have an invitation guaranteed. So you're competing with thousands of people. That's why you need to get right advice. You need to know exactly what to submit. You need to know exactly what statement you should submit to the state to convince them that you're genuine intent to stay here and you're employable. The employability is very important, because the state's not supporting you financially. It's a state sponsorship or a nomination that will come handy to secure your PR. So therefore the state want to assure you that you settle on your own and you're employable and you have the finances. So anything can be considered, and it's your duty to, your responsibility to submit right documents and the information to accomplish your outcome.
What are the biggest changes you've seen in this with the newly open-minded or open process program?
Everything was closed, and then
every occupation.
And then it was very limited to target sectors.
Right.
If you're in research, healthcare, or technology, then you had limited opportunities to apply. And many people suffered with this tight, limited criteria. It's an open criteria. It's a good news.
And Susantha, one big doubt people must be having whether I am good for this or whether I should look. Who are the people you are encouraging for this?
I'm encouraging, of course, people, occupations in demand. If you've got a skill assessment and the right English test results, yes, then you should take the opportunity. But anyone want to apply, they need to present their case. And then if you don't get that invitation, then you should seek advice on other immigration opportunities. And the good news is the previous government introduced something called COVID stream visa. With COVID stream visa, people could extend their stay, the temporary stay. People are allowed to stay in the country and no one forced to go out of the country. Even people on bridging visas, the compliance did not push people out of the country. So which is a good thing. So there's a skill shortage. It's accepted by the governments, the opposition, the Chamber of Commerce, businesses. Everyone is crying for skills. So we need skills. This economy, the Australian economy, the states' economies are depending on the skills. It's a factor. It's like Sri Lankan economy was depending on external factors such as tourism, remittances from expatriates, and the exports. Has lost $15 billion in the 2 years. That is the reason for the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, which led to a political crisis. So if we continue to have a skill crisis in this country, it'll have an impact on the Australian economy. So we need to have skills.
Susantha, you are in the front line of this. You tell us the right side, but the bright side to choose, for example, if people want to go to Canada, England or any other country, why they should choose Australia? What's the golden ball in that?
I would say that Australia is the best country to live for you, your families and the children. And we are still closer to Sri Lanka. So I encourage people to migrate. I assist as a lawyer. That's my profession. However, we always say that secure your migration for your personal gain and your family's gain and benefit. But never forget Sri Lanka and keep supporting Sri Lanka. But if you're in Australia, you're closer to Sri Lanka, so you can connect with Sri Lanka and support. So we need people here who migrated with that experience to return and contribute to change that country for betterment. So therefore, 23 million, only 1 million people can afford to leave the country. If all that 1 million leaves, the country is going to collapse. So if people are leaving, we need to support Sri Lanka back. Never forget your home. So that's the message. We support to gain what you want, but support back Sri Lanka, help your country.
One last question. Getting closer to your mother country, this is not seconded to your mother country, but asking you how Fairfield's lawyers can facilitate, how you can assist, what should be the first step of the starting point of this?
So as a law firm, we had a track record and history of delivering results. So the outcome is the main thing for my clients, and we drive because we are migrants, and so when we take it, we want the outcome. So we drive for the outcome. Sometimes we're too busy. If you want a lawyer who wants to, if you to talk 24/7, then we are not the one. But if you want the outcome, if you want to get the result, then come to us. We're happy to assist you with the best legal advice. And we negotiate the best outcome with the government or the authorities or your employers. That's our capacity. And we deal with higher levels, so representing our clients will not be a challenge for us. Delighted to do so.
Susantha, what's your dream tomorrow, far as the migration concern?
Migration concern to see more people accomplish their dreams in Australia. And their success is my success. Seeing their success is my happiness. And I see that every day of the week in Melbourne. And whatever the city I go to in Australia, I see that people. And I'm very happy and pleased with that.
What a way to end our discussion. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being excited of what could go right. Thank you so much, Susantha, for giving us a knowledge and sort of a great entry for you guys who are thinking to migrate and who can choose the best professional outfit lawyers who can assist to get the migration to best livable city in Australia. That's Melbourne or Victoria. Thank you once again for great information, and my viewers, now over to you. If you have relatives, friends, this is nothing like second home. The best thing is get the right people in, not from the boat, from the airport. Thank you. We'll see you next time. This is Melbourne Sahan for Aus News Lanka.